Iraqis voted for their new government a year ahead of the scheduled election. These are polls that analysts say may not deliver significant changes for the people. The elections witnessed low voter turnout, which the EU chief election observer Viola Von Cramon said is a political signal the situation in Iraq is grim. The country's infrastructure is crumbling. Powerful paramilitary groups threaten the authority of the state. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced after years of war. Amid all the trouble, Iraqis are expecting a meaningful change in their day-to-day lives. This election witnessed many firsts. First, the vote took place under a new election law that saw Iraq being divided into smaller constituencies, allowing more independent candidates to participate.
This process is very different from the past. There was a big audit was done for the result management system, and this election has the potential to be the best election. Now I hope that Iraqi voters come out and vote. I think that's very important because the turnout will decide, and many people will think the higher turnout is the best. And I also think higher turnout means Iraqis are coming out and exercising their rights.
Iraq had also introduced biometric cards for the voters in order to prevent abuse of electronic voter cards. They will be disabled for 72 hours after each person voted. Groups from Iraq's Shiite factions dominate the electoral landscape, and this has been the case since the Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein was toppled. It was a time when the country's power base shifted from minority Sunnis to majority Shiites. However, Shiite groups are divided. A tight race is expected between the political bloc of influential Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr and the Fatah alliance led by parliamentary leader Hadi al-Ameri. Iraq's current Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi cast his vote for the Iraqi general election earlier today. Iraq's populist cleric and contender Muqtada al-Sadr also cast his vote in the central Iraqi city of Najaf. Iraq's elections were preponed by several months after the widespread anti-state protests held 2 years ago. In 2019, the demonstrations were met with deadly force. At least 600 people were killed over a period of few months, after which the authorities gave in and called the election early.
سبب انتخابي أكيد نريد نغير هالطبقة الموجودة الحاكمة بناس بدم جديد بحيث يحسون بمعاناة العراقيين الحقيقية ونحاول نوصل مصاف الدول المتقدمة.
2018 elections witnessed record low turnout with just 44% of eligible voters casting ballots. Results were widely contested. And with us on the broadcast is Sardar Sattar, joining us from Erbil, Iraq. Thanks very much for speaking with us. What is the voter turnout looking like at this point?
Well, at this point, the turnout, according to the Iraqi independent high electoral commission, it is not very good, and it's not very high. Actually, it is very, very low. As you might know, in 2005, when the first time the government was meant to be formed after the toppling of Saddam Hussein, the turnout was about 79%. Then the last election, which was held in 2018, the turnout was below 45. But this time, actually, the Electoral Commission and the international observers and local observers are expecting something between 25 to 30, which is a very huge doubt on the reliability or the credibility of the votes.
What, according to you, would be the key issues that will determine the outcome of this election?
Well, Iraq by nature is a country. Religion has divided the country, and the ethnicity has divided the country. We have three main components in Iraq. We have Shia Arabs, we have Sunni Arabs, and Kurds in the north, who enjoy a semi-autonomous region for themselves. But after all, the election is not going to address all the key issues in Iraq. We have to remember that the election is the result of a very deadly and a terrible months-long demonstration by Iraqis. And the turnout, which is very low now, shows that the Iraqis are still frustrated, and they do not see a result to an answer to their questions or demands to be obtained through elections which they do not trust that much, actually.
Now, this election is expected to shape Iraq's foreign policy at a time that is crucial for West Asia. Give us a broad sense of where the main contenders stand when it comes to the foreign policy challenges that the country is facing.
Well, that's right. It's not only for Iraqis. The regional actors, the international actors, they have all set their eyes on Iraq and the result of the elections, actually. In the region around Saudi Arabia, we have Turkey and Jordan, the key neighbors of Iraq. Iraq has been trying in the recent months to play the role of kind of mediator between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which are rival enemies in the region. They had several backdoor negotiations, direct negotiations held in Baghdad. On the other hand, there are some issues with respect to the Turkish military invasions into the Iraqi and Kurdistan region territories in the north, which Iraq still struggles. But on top of all, actually, comes the military presence of the United States. The United States has already reached an agreement with Iraq through this strategic dialogue that they conducted earlier this year, that they are going to withdraw all the combat forces from Iraq by the end of 2021. But still, everyone is looking at the result of this election, because the majority, which are still going to be the Shias, but how they are going to manage to structure the next government, who is going to be the prime minister of the next Iraqi government, is going to determine the foreign policy of Iraq, and that is going to be the key issue for the regional actors and the international actors. On top of all is the United States.
Sardar Sattar, appreciate very much for joining us on the broadcast with those perspectives.
Thank you for having me.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.